Another fairly standard map, so I don't think Optimal's going to mind. Alright, so I think both fellas here already in this GVE. God Key on his Greek. OptimalAcorn, the ultimate raider, on his Egypt. So this should be a very, very good game to watch. It's be nice to see. I think both of them are up for heavy cavalry, especially if they stay with this matchup for more than one game, which would be really, really good to see. So we've got Greeky. That's the red Greek. Acorn. It's blue Egypt. And I'm just going to change some sensitivity settings real quick before the game really gets underway. So right now, Acorn is just scouting out his base. I think he's just missed that sheep, but he'll come back and find that very soon. Or he's probably just opted just to skip it. Try and find the hunt a little bit quicker because Greeky's already managed to solidify his hunt. And Acorn's only just moving on to his now. So this is one of the ways where RNG sort of already plays a little bit of a part in the game, in the scouting. And we fucking love it here in the community. And because this is my personal stream, I'm allowed to say fuck as much as I like. On the official stream tonight, things are a bit more politically and corporately, I don't even know if that's the word correct. So anyway, both players, they've moved on to their hunts right now. Greeky's already pushing out the early barracks. Acorn, he's actually taking his second storehouse. We should be a little bit slower with moving everything around the map at this stage. Try not to give you guys vertigo or something. So, both players still just scouting. It's always good to scout in the early minutes of the game. Greeky's already pushing out an early spearman. Acorn, he hasn't actually seen the barracks yet. He's still, I wouldn't say greedily scouting because he's moving his scout across the map now, but he's opted to try and find his first 3 gold mines first, which is fairly conventional, I think, to either look for 3 gold mines or 2 hunts, 2 gold mines as a bit of a start. So you at least get your early economy set up if you're going for a bit of a slower play like double storehouse first. In fact, he's even opted for triple storehouse first. He hasn't actually scouted till he's scouted the spearman, and I think he's just opted to try and get the stone and just push for age 2. Because it's not a particularly, I mean, it is a little bit early, but you might be content in just being able to take a small amount of stone and being able to sort of hold, considering he's already got a reasonable villager number here. So if he micros here well, he should be able to defend reasonably. But, and his barracks, oh, he's opted for Temple of Ra rather than going for the barracks. So he's actually being forced to pull back at this stage. Hasn't lost anything just yet. Taking this earlier stone. And he's just pushing out to try and get the second storehouse. Because his opponent doesn't really know about that one yet. He's opting to just sacrifice the scout. Just delay his opponent a bit, who's going to try and take the storehouse to set him a bit behind economically. But Optimal's sort of already readjusted. He's got the second storehouse in play. And he's got the Temple of Ra. So he's got the quicker age 2 compared to his opponent Greeky, who's still just in age 1. Still just getting villages. And the spearman, although I think this might be his last spearman coming out for now. He's opting for some defensive placement around his woodline there, so that's nice to see. Optimal at this stage playing a little bit greedier, but I suppose he wants to try and save the Temple of Ra too, because without the early spears on the field, if he's got it right outside of TC range, it's a bit more vulnerable. And I don't know if Greeky's actually seen. I think he may have. I think Greeky might have noticed. Yeah, he has. Because he saw one of the villagers, and so he's going to send his spears across to try and deal with that. Although he's opting to flank back in. Trying to cancel the barracks coming from Acorn. So this is some nice pressure play here from Greeky in the early game. Acorn doing what he can to get the most out of his greedy build at the moment, but he's lost the barracks, and it's a bit tough now because Greeky, he's got 7 spears in his opponent's base as well as a scout, and optimally he doesn't even have his scout alive. He's about to lose one of his priestesses. And the other one quite low too. So he needs to be really, really careful with his processes here. Greeky has done a good job at forcing 2 barracks cancels at this stage. Getting age 2. He's neck and neck in stone now actually, and his villager count, he's 1 behind, so he might have cut villages at one stage just to force out the earlier spears. I think he has done, and he's done a good job at it, because he's now actually denied the wood, as well as the food, and 2 barracks, so the third barracks is finally getting up now for Acorn, so that's a bit of a big cost to him, because he's really behind now, in terms of his production, whereas Greeky basically been cancelled there. He's got the earlier second town centre. Acorn really doesn't have the wood to take his second TC yet. He's taking a little bit too much stone actually, so he might be looking to get early towers actually to help him defend. His Greeky's raiding, particularly on his early Greeks, is really strong. There's an awful lot of villagers for only a couple of trees there, so there's an awful lot of collision between the villages. It does mean that they're slightly less optimal than they could be. And these things do end up mattering, particularly at the high level, where players can punish small economic mistakes like this over time. So there's a range being built by Greeky, whereas Acorn is only just now taking his second storehouse. His second TC is extremely delayed. Greeky's is just about finished, and Greeky is doing a wonderful job scouting out all the resources over his side of the map, so he knows exactly where he wants to expand to, figure out all the optimal locations behind his base rather than the ones right at the fringes up towards the front. Acorn, on the other hand, he's sort of having to play really defensively at this stage, really having to force out that second town centre as quickly as he can. A couple of axemen just here to defend against the spearmen should they push into him, which is good to see. He's managed to keep both his priestesses alive and has healed up the lower one, so that's nice to see as well. But he is forced to take a bit more of a defensive second town centre position just because of the pace of the game early on. So Greeky's really able to benefit from being able to secure a hunt, the gold, and this wood line here, whereas Acorn really only being able to double down on his main base's resources. Greeky is also getting out a lot of economic techs a little bit quicker than Acorn, so that's going to mean a bit of an advantage going into age 2. Anything on the stream all goods? Whoops, what am I doing? So, we're looking at Greeky's wood line for some reason. But he's actually getting some archers out, which is nice to see. So this should be really going to be forcing Acorn's hand. Now he's forced to get out the slingers, and Greeky, he's going to be in a position to either take age 3 quicker, or get Saris and really push into his opponent's age 2 composition, I think. So, Acorn really has to play it quite smart now, because he is a little bit behind his opponent. Greeky, 31 villages to 25 from Acorn. Now on this second TC economy as well, but like I said, he's in a bit more defensive position. He has scouted out the map a little bit, but I think a lot of this has also been from Greeky scouting. Because as an observer, I can't actually see all the resources as well until someone has scouted them, but then sometimes it's a bit hard to tell who did because you're paying attention to the fray. So that's an awful lot of villagers actually going onto the berries. And all the ones on here aren't actually getting any benefit because Optimal's opting to get a slightly quicker villager production rather than slightly more optimal gathering. So it's all 10 rather than 11 on this side. So that's a bit of a trek there too. Greeky, Small could probably look at throwing up an extra storehouse, but yeah, both players doing a pretty good job overall in terms of their economic management, but they are quite high level players. Optimal's quite experienced. Greeky is basically the new big kid on the block. So Greeky, he's got a sizable force here. That's really cool outfit there on his hypers. Damn. We are so spoiled in this game. You guys do a wonderful job on the dev team. Thank you for Halloween 2019, and thank you for Summer Event 2019 as well. And best of luck with all future releases, guys, because it's been an absolute pleasure to play them. So Greeky just massing up a sizable force going into age 2. He's got a reasonable population lead over Acorn at this stage. He's about 30 pop ahead. Like I said, he's managed to get those age 2 upgrades out a little bit earlier than Acorn, and it's really benefiting him as well. So Acorn opting for an early age 3 actually, but not really getting a lot more stone. Just, oh, he is now actually. So Acorn's trying to force out the early age 3 to try and capitalize on his opponent's booming up within age 2. But if he's not careful, he might not have enough to actually defend against Greeky's push. So Greeky's already actually getting armory upgrades too. So the barbed arrows is really going to help his archers. It's a really nice massed archer comp. Acorn hasn't yet got a whole bunch of slingers, but he's actually transitioned to the stables off the single barracks, which is a nice play because he's going to be able to force out these chariot archers while his opponent's only in age 2. So despite the population lead, the army count, I think he might not be in too bad of a position here, because if he micros those well, he could do an awful lot of damage. The Greeky, his greed over the map, this could really come into favour him. He's taking distant hunts already. Acorn is only just looking at taking one now. He's sort of already really gathered out his berries. Greeky's not really having to worry about berries because he's taking so many hunts all over the map. Although, going into the mid game, this could also be bad for Greek because he's either got to expand on his opponent's hunts or look at setting up all his berries and possibly taking farms. So Greeky's a further bit ahead in the age 2 economy, but Acorn is throwing down his second TC now. So it's going to get interesting because Greeky still is only in age 2, isn't actually aging just yet, still just massing, but it's a really, really big force. He's got I think he's going for a really, really nice 11-minute push here. He notes that his opponent is a little bit behind economically, and despite Acorn's greedy play, it's been delayed a little. He's got plenty of chariot archers at this stage though. Greeky losing his scout to find out about them. A reasonable investment. Now he knows at least they're there, and he can at least attempt to counter them going into the mid game. But now he also doesn't have a scout, so he's got to look at sending units around the map to try and gather a bit of intel. So if you can try and snipe one of these distant gathers, and likewise for Optimal, if you can scout and snipe one of these distant gathers, it can really, really turn the flow of the game. Got some wonderful Halloween gear here from Greeky. And we've got a whole bunch of chariot archers going out now. So this is 30 population, but it's only 10 units versus basically nearly 70 units here from Greeky. So it's a huge force from the Greek player. The Egyptian player. It's only fairly light, but quite teched up force, and he's having to leave an awful lot at home too, because I think he knows his opponent is going to look at pushing out at some point, and he wants to try and deal a bit of damage and delay that, and be able to play a bit of catch up now, because now the age 3 is really going to start kicking in once he's actually got, that third town center. He's going to have the villager advantage slowly tip back in his favour, so the gap's shortened down from 6 to 3, and I think it might slowly tick towards his favour until Greeky gets his age 3. But it's only just happened now, and he is having to force out that third town center somewhere on the map. He's just deciding where to put it. But oh no, the chariot archers are pushing into his base, delaying an awful lot of stuff. Greeky opting for the early peltus, which is nice to see, but all these workers over his are going to be forced back. This huge force of his is forced back. By this army of only 10 units, but bearing in mind it is 30 population. He is able to one-shot villages the whole time. So he's lost 2 of them now. It's big force of Greeky circling out now, and Greeky looking at playing fairly greedy over his opponent's side of the map. Already walling up too. So Greeky's in a wonderful position economically. Acorn's only just playing catch up at this point, but in saying that Acorn's been quicker on the early age 3, Greeky's only just gotten the stone now to be able to throw down the town center. He's just starting to pile up a little bit of resources, doesn't have a whole bunch of gold. I think he's caught just a little bit right now. Big force in the middle of the map. I think he's going to try and attempt to catch all of his opponent's army. He's just missed them. Acorn now is slowly tipping things back in his favour, but he's going to find out about Greeky starting to gather over his side of the map. And if Greeky manages to solidify this, it can really come to harm Acorn. He's forced to try and have to back up further and further around the map, and there's only so far he can go. The Greeky, he's been caught out here. Acorn's got a wonderful catch here. He's catching out 3, 4, 5 villages worth on the gold line. Killing every single one of them, and he might even just catch the market too if he's lucky. So opting to come back in though. Might snipe the watchtower to deny Greeky a bit of vision. Or even take the wood. So Greeky's got the third TC up now. Village count 61 to 74. So Acorn is actually well ahead in terms of the village count. Greeky just a little bit behind now. Economically though, he's really going to start to slide behind because 13 villages, 10 villages worth of difference now. 10 villages worth of difference is still reasonably big. And this composition of his is very age 2 oriented. The Hypertox ball. But Acorn, does he have the numbers to actually defend against it? And he's going to lose an awful lot over this side of the map right now with gold mine here in question. Every single villager going down and another villager over here on the hunt. In the meantime, Acorn wrapping his units around the back. I need to run in a couple of Zaris, which are really good against the range, so it's sort of an inefficient trade, really, for Acorn, who's going to lose 3 against 2 Saris alone. And Greeky's going to be able to pump out a second or third wave of them, even with an upgrade too, so Acorn has sort of been repelled right now, and Greeky in a nice position now to try and do a little bit of damage to his opponent's base, but Acorn has got a wonderful comp here. A nice job of pulling back in behind his SimCity, and single elephant, really keeping his opponent at bay. Got a couple of priestesses here too, keeping the army up, topped up. For the Fortress and TC, chipping down important units within the composition. But, oh, the War Elephant's been singled out. That's a good job here from Greeky. He hasn't managed to lose anything out of it just yet, except for a unit falling to the Fortress fire. A little bit of damage though, but if you can get out the Priest soon, he won't be in too bad of a shape. And if he starts focusing on counters for the elephants, if Optimal gets them, and for counters for the cavalry of the Egyptian player, he's in a pretty good shape, I'd say. The villager count 69 to 77, so Greeky's still a little bit down in the villager count, but his army's done a wonderful job of keeping the Egyptian player OptimalAcorn zone back in his base. So he's managed to deny a lot of resources and even secure his opponent's gold mine in the meantime. We've gotten all about this watchtower just over here, but I don't think it really matters at this stage. He's really locked his opponent down. Greeky doing a nice job on his Greek. He's really known for playing this Civ with a number of wonderful pressure builds. But Acorn, again, he's renowned for his raiding, and he's going to try again with some cavalry of his own that are really, really anti-cavalry oriented. Sending some units in just to deal a bit of pressure, try and force some units out from his opponent. Nothing's coming, so he's going to try and pick something a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more worth it. Try and snipe the production facilities now. Not bad of a choice. Greeky's really going to have to respond here, and he's locked up a lot in population. He's got ARP raids kicking in, he's got age 4 kicking in. Optimal hasn't got his age 4 on the way, but he's got a whole bunch of age 2 and 3 upgrades coming in now, so he might transition back to infantry because he's got conditioning and the Axeman champion coming in. He's managed to force some units out from his opponent, a bunch of hoplites versus the cavalry, and forced a bunch of pullbacks. Greeky in the meantime, moving straight across the base, about to take the fortress actually. It's going to be really, really dangerous for Acorn. His units sandwiched quite nicely up the back here, and it's really going to come down to micro now. The fortress is just going to fall. There's nothing actually repairing it. Acorn's actually just opted to get more food in the meantime rather than try and repair. Does he have enough to actually defend now? There's a lot actually chipping in his base. The cavalry at the back of Greeky's, but they're not doing anything right now. So there's units falling down. There's not a bunch of chariot archers. There's only like 7 or 8 now. But Greeky's force as well has been really thinned out from the double TC fire. So Acorn's doing not too bad of a job at repelling this. Hasn't really lost a lot in terms of economic losses right now. He's still on 80 workers to Greeky's 69, so he's still 11 workers ahead. He's really only lost the fortress and a lot of his cavalry, but he's really replenished it. The defender's advantage though, he's made wonderful use of it. He's done a really nice job of SimCitying his base and parking his units in behind everything. And both players really forced into a hectic micro battle, which I think Optimal got the better of then. So Greeky's, right now he's a little bit behind now. He's lost a lot of his age 2, age 3 composition. He's really forced to an age 3-4 comp with Peltus, Hop, Codmos. So he's really forced to tech up now. And I think he doesn't really have a lot of resources to actually do it. He's got a lot of wood, food in the bank. He's still only on 145 pop. And Acorn is a big force wrapping around into his base right now. He's going to try and take out these stables before Greeky can get the units out. Wonderful play by Acorn. Both players have been doing a wonderful job this game. It's been a great game to cast. Greeky's still solidified and denied the gold mine up the front of Acorn's base, but Acorn done a pretty good job of expanding around the other side of the map. And right now he's denying a lot of Greeky's resources again over the back of the map. Greeky forced to try and stream units from his own SimCity right now, but Acorn is just chipping away at a lot of production facilities and the army that's just trickling through, and Acorn has done a wonderful job at trying to fight. He's got a wonderful comp for trying to fight inside his opponent's base right now with this mass cavalry, but he's losing all the chariot archers, but he needs to be careful with that because that's what's going to be really able to let him hit and run villages. But the camels themselves are really doing a wonderful job at tearing up Greeky's saris, and once those fall, and he's not going to be able to actually catch and stop the Egyptian cavalry, but the players need to be really careful right now. 76 to 91 villages. Greeky's still trailing villages by about 10 to 15. Optimal's the ultimate raider himself. Walling up, trying to solidify his side of the map. Game has transitioned into a wonderful macro game from the crazy aggression we saw from Greeky into the greedy build from Acorn. But right now, Acorn again streaming another force over Greeky's side of the map, and he's doing another raid. He's killed off a whole bunch of workers again. Greeky down to 82 to 101. More cavalry heading across too. So the ultimate raider himself. Running Greeky all over the map now. He's re-solidifying his base. How did a bunch of caravans of Greekys get caught over there? What the hell? So, Acorn again. He's going to try and pick off more villages at this Greeky's rear gold mine. Streaming over another set of cavalry too. Greeky, he's holding off. He's killed another elephant that's streamed in. Hopefully, Acorn's hoping to try and get these houses of Greeky's, but Greeky in the meantime is hoping to try and save them. So, Greeky forced to pull a lot of villages over to another resource to try and save them for now. And Acorn, he's looking to pull back. I think he realizes he needs to be able to hold again because it's quite squishy up in the mid map. But this is really how this matchup I think is supposed to be played, with the Greek player able to really pressure the mid, but the Egyptian being able to make use of the good raiding. And right now this is a really nice later game force from the Egyptian player. Like, just parked his cavalry at the back just for now. He doesn't really wants to just be able to focus on microing here and just defend this, but he's got a nice force being able to thin out his opponent's infantry and then be able to defend with elephants and the arrow pressure. And Greeky is forced to try and withdraw. Some forward production facilities and barracks being thrown up there for Acorn, getting more in the way of his army upgrades. Greeky just on all of his age 2 upgrades and an age 1 upgrade. Acorn's actually a little bit ahead in terms of the upgrades at the moment, I think. 87 to 96 villages. Acorn sort of overextended here. I think he hasn't realized that he might not have the forces to actually get a lot out of this, because there is the double TC fire and all the troops here for only a handful of elephants, and Greeky's doing a wonderful job at splitting everything up here. In the meantime, a whole bunch of cavalry must have fallen over here on the villages of Greeky. So, Greeky doing a wonderful job at repelling Acorn's amazing raids. Finally warming up as much of his base as he can except the mid-map. Acorn doing the same himself. Needs to look at this stretch though. This game seems to be moving into a late game now. Both players again and again repelling each other's raiding and pushing, so this is a great back and forth game right now. The fortress being thrown up here from the Greek player. Egyptian player, in the meantime, pushing up more and more production facilities, doing a barracks creep up towards his opponent's base. He wants to be able to try and take a good fight and snowball from there and just do a parade push to a GG. But Greeky, he's going to do everything he can to prevent that, and instead use archers to rain the fire down on the Egyptians. So it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful game to watch. Lots of Gastras, lots of Peltas. Just a nice composition from him. Even got the Prodmos to be able to deal with the cavalry, but that's an awful lot of cavalry here from the Greek player who's forcing the Egyptian back again and again. Greeky himself now with a really nice raid. Acorn forced to try and take another resource in the meantime, and Greeky managed to merge his army back up again. Might take this forward barracks if he's lucky here. In fact, he's actually going to catch and do a bit of damage on the cavalry of Acorn. Take a single camel rider there. Take the barracks right now. So again, Greeky with the mid-map pressure. A nice job of that. And now with the walling off, Acorn is forced to have to try and take a good front-on fight now. Does he have the composition to be able to do it? So Greeky with a wonderful concave of his army, but Acorn, he's just snuck a war elephant round to the back, and Greeky forced to have to split and keep moving back his Gastras. I mean, not too bad of a job of that, but he needs to try and get everything out now because he's been repelled again by the Egyptian player. So Acorn's doing a wonderful job at keeping the Greek out on his doorstep. Greeky again forced back with his tail between his legs, but I think Acorn is going to have a hard time being able to push in right now. Fortress is finished. There's plenty of production for Greeky. He's back up to 175 pop, 179. So 60 pop in queue. So he himself is in a wonderful position economically and production wise at this stage of the game. Might lose this town center though, so he might have to make sure he's got the stone to throw it up, but he does have plenty of resources in the bank. So nice back and forth for a little while yet, I think, here with both players. With a bit of resources, Optimal's actually a little bit behind in terms of resource count. It's 93 to 109 villages, so even though he leads in the village account, he hasn't really got the army size to be able to capitalize on anything. Greeky's done a wonderful job at remaxing now. He's already up to 190 population in play. Acorn forced back himself with his tail between his legs, but he's doing a good job at warming up again. Greeky's going to be forced to have to destroy that watch post in order to actually break through that segment of the wall. So it's actually smart because it saves Acorn just a little bit more stone to force out something else. So Acorn again, running some units around the right side of Greeky's base, but because it's only the Axeman and because there's some Ballista here, he might have to be a bit careful, but he's going to run into an awful lot of villagers too, so yeah, this is a good catch for Acorn. He's managing to get an awful lot of the villagers even before all the Axemen fall, so Greeky down to 87 to 105 villagers from Acorn. But the army size from Greeky as well is quite large, and he's got all this early siege to make up for the lack of the war elephants, because they sort of do double as siege. But does he have enough to really keep the Palanton alive to actually be able to do any damage? And Acorn himself taking a bunch of siege workshops to get catapults, or the catapults or the Palantonons himself. Ballista coming out now, but Greeky doesn't really have anything at the front line anymore. There's a whole bunch of elephants. Six elephants still alive right now, and they are really, really tanky units. 1.5k health. 1.6 I should say. And Greeky running some units around the corner of the map. Might even sneak the ram past the storehouse, or even try and back off from there. Send something else in first. He wants to try and be able to sneak some siege-based pressure on his opponent. Acorn forcing Greeky back again. Both players in a nice economic position now with a little bit of money in the bank. Both at about 190 population. Just trading blows in the mid-map. Acorn forcing out a bit of Palantonons of his own. Greeky getting more in the way of Hoplite Gastra. Really nice late game composition we're seeing from both players. Greeky doubling down on his caravans. Thinks he's going to be able to defend well against his opponent with those, and make use of a reasonably long caravan line. Acorn likewise is probably doing much the same, and right now Acorn Again, it's repelling Greeky up the mid-map. He's got a big force himself. He's kept out of basically 105 villages, and I think he's just pouring everything into production and upgrades at this stage. He's getting combat expertise. Greeky himself getting composite bow. So now it's going to be a bit of a war of attrition. Both players going to have to make use of the defender's advantage here, and going to be careful to try and snipe the siege so that remains in play. And Greeky's doing a good job at picking off the Palantonons, but not before the town center gets quite low. And Acorn has a big force here to be able to deal with all the units. Greeky's only got a fairly small number of Gastras, chipping away at everything, but they are doing a good job at it. Meantime, Acorn is just running over Greeky's units, streaming over a whole bunch of a whole bunch of units mid-map. He's going to try and attempt a parade push through here, but does he have the resources to be able to do this? Because Greeky himself has enough resources to be able to do so. And this TC of Greeky's, even though it's quite low, it's providing some good covering pressure along with the fortress. Cavalry's going to die. The archers are right at the edge of its range, so that's a wonderful use of the archers there by Greeky, repelling Acorn from the mid-map, who's about 15 population behind. A little bit in terms of resources behind, I think, overall. But he's got that slight worker count lead too, so when I say slight, it's about 18 workers too. Greeky, maybe the bigger army size is helping him right now. So these Rams of Greeky really putting in the work. They've killed a couple of production facilities. They're even going to take this fortress of Acorns right now, I think. Right now Greeky, he's pushed up into his opponent's mid-map. Might even look at taking the wall out so he can look at running something through that side of the map. I think he might even opt for taking the workshops out, or even the barracks now. So Acorn lost a lot of production over this side of the map. He's forced to get more stables, more barracks elsewhere. Meantime, Greeky's pushed in with a big force and a slight army lead. Really, really nice micro here from both players. These archers, though, you need to be careful with those because the catapults are really ripping through them. The Gastras don't have the tank units to defend against all these catapults who are killing 2 every 2 hits. So this big force of Acorns, despite the nice push from Greeky, managed to repel it right now, I think. He's only lost a couple of production facilities and he's forced Greeky down in terms of the overall population, so he's really solidifying his position here over on the right side of the map. Probably needs to start walling up though, because that's a bit risky, bit greedy coming out from here. Greeky himself is playing quite conventional. He's really only left the middle of the map unwalled, just stream his units across as quickly as possible, while being able to defend himself against raids on the opponent. So a lot of catapults here from Acorn though, and they're going to be able to deal an awful lot of splash damage, destroy the hell out of the ballistas. A lot of damage coming out onto the army of Greekies, the small hitboxes. So the area of damage composition here from the Egyptian player, it's doing an awful lot of damage against the high unit count population, high unit comp from the Greek player right now. So you see some Greek fire coming out from the Greek player. Might be able to do a bit more damage on the opponent's buildings. But right now I'm not sure if it's going to matter. He's going to try and focus his opponent's siege and try and keep a good front line for his archers while he gets some more out. So Greeky, down only 81 villages, a bit behind economically. Acorn back up to 26 villages ahead now, and this town centre is still quite low as well as the fortress, so if he loses everything here it could be quite disastrous for him. Greeky, I don't know if he's got enough to defend, but he does have some sneaky rams here over at the side, but they don't seem to be going anywhere. Right now, Greeky going to lose his town centre, so this is big. He's forced back to a 180 population economy and production. So he does have the units to be able to hold right now, but Acorn is still streaming things in across from the other side of the map, and Acorn's economy is in full swing right now. He's actually deleted a bunch of villages, I believe, to be able to force out even more units. He wants to go for a nice 200 population composition, I think, as well as get some more caravans too, as opposed to villages, because he's really saturated a lot of his side of the map right now. Despite Greeky being a little bit more expensive in the early game, it was Acorn that actually had the worker lead for most of the game, so Acorn's doing a wonderful job at being able to capitalize that transition into a cover van heavy economy earlier. Greeky right now still actually getting a couple of villages out, still hasn't actually taken that 4th town center again, just throwing it down now, so he's about 20 population behind his opponent right now. And he's managed to pull the Rams in with his army for some reason. I think he just wants to be able to use them to tank. Because they are a bit of a population and resource investment really, so he needs to make use of them somewhere. If not just delete them to get more cavalry himself, because Acorn picked off the fortress as well, so there's another town center exposed. 2 town center is pretty much exposed here, so Acorn with a big force. Greeky, he's about 20 population behind at all times, so this isn't going to be too good for him, so we'll have to do something drastic here. He's moving the Rams out. He's moved another set of Rams out as well. He needs to make something happen with them because he's losing everything in the middle here. He might be able to snipe the Palantonons though, so that's really nice use of that small number of cavalry. It's just forcing his opponent back unit by unit, but does he have enough to actually hold while he tries to figure out something to snipe elsewhere on the map? And Acorn himself is getting some workshops to be able to put some pressure in. See more units here from both players falling, more streaming in from both sides of the map. Acorn, the really strong economy. Greeky just now taking that 4th TC again. Up to 85 to 108 villages. So Acorn, the 20 villager advantage seems to be doing a lot of work, but at the same time, Greeky, he's always got the unit count to actually be able to defend anything, even though he seems to be behind. So he's doing a wonderful job here, but needs to make something really happen with these Rams. I'm not sure what he's done with them. In fact, he's streamed all 4 of them around the back, so he wants to be able to snipe something, and he's done a good job at pushing Acorn back right now. And Acorn, he's about 30 population down, and he's just trying to figure out what Greeky's attempting to do, because Greeky's just about maxed out again. Greeky's streamed more Rams into his opponent's base. Acorn just figuring out what he's going to have to do here. He's done a bunch of cavalry streaming in against them, but Greeky is going to use this to capitalize and try and push into his opponent's base. He's got some more Rams over the other side of his opponent's base, so Greeky split his Rams up into 2 different positions, and he's really making it work right now. He's able to stream his opponent's his opponent's army all over his base wherever he wants it. He's got Rams pushing in. He split his opponent's army up, and he's got his own army here killing production facilities, caravans, workers, anything coming out of the production facilities. So it's a really smart play right now from Greeky. He's managed to try split his opponent's army, and Acorn is doing everything he can to defend right now. Acorn, does he have enough to defend? I think he might, but he's going to have to be careful here because Greeky has split his army up really well right now. Acorn, this late game Egyptian composition, it seems to be repelling the Greek one just quite heavily, but God, Greeky is persistent. He's going to make something happen with these Rams. He's streaming in another 3. Both players back up to about 90 population with about 10 in production as well. More upgrades coming out. Greeky with the close combat expertise wants to be able to eke out every little bit out of his infantry and out of his Rams and everything he's got. Likewise from Crimson, he's doing a wonderful job with his War Elephant Chariot Archer composition with the throwing axeman up the front to tank against everything. He's got the area damage composition here from the Egyptian player is just phenomenal against this Greek ranged composition. Optimal forcing him back again, but Greeky just might take another market. He just might take a market here, so that's where things get interesting because Acorn is well behind Greeky in terms of the market economy, and Acorn forced to have to pull back again. Greeky, he's going to start taking markets, and that's really going to hurt Acorn in the late game. Who I don't think he's actually on any gold except for this one. Yeah, he's only on the 1 gold mine. And relying on the market's almost entirely. So if Greeky is smart right now, he's going to snipe all 3 of those, and Acorn might not even have enough to defend here, because Greeky is actually a lot more in the bank right now. His 88 villager economy, despite being 20 villagers down, because he's always got the army advantage. He's doing a wonderful job at making sure his opponent's got to keep spending all game long. And Acorn, does he have enough to keep spending with? This is a wonderful comp for Greeky. He's split his archers up into a whole bunch of different groups to be able to attack a whole bunch of targets all over the map, all over the battlefield. And right now, Acorn, it's really drastic for him. He's going to lose a Palantonon as well. He's transitioning to Elephant Archers, which is quite nice, but pretty expensive too. And Greeky just making it work with the Greek composition. He's taking another production facility. Going to keep sniping some more, I think. The Ram. This Ram is going to win Greeky the game, I think. Acorn is forced to have to readjust, forced to have to reshuffle his markets. He's going to have to get some more up the back here or something. I think he has done. Oh no, they're all just rallying. So right now, big fight going down the mid map. Both players with a really nice late game army transition, and this unit's falling down for both players right now. But Acorn is about 20 supply behind, 30 supply behind, so 20 supply behind again. So he needs to really be able to defend here crucially, otherwise it's all over, I think. Greeky's done a wonderful job at chipping away at his opponent, and despite having the worker disadvantage, he's got the army advantage and really made use of it by forcing out tri-splits and dual splits most of the game with his rams and his army. And phenomenal play from the Greek player, who's really taking down everything he can right now. His army's pretty safe streaming in across his opponent's side of the map, and he's just demolished everything over here. He's going to lose that ram, but that's just going to mean an even bigger force in here in the middle for Acorn to have to deal with. And I'm not sure if he's got the resources to be able to do so. He's lost his market, and he's got all this gold, but he doesn't really have any food or wood to make anything with. So Greeky, on the other hand, he's got Facebook money right now. He's destroying houses. He's taking everything, but it's a tough fight for the Greek player right now with the double town center from the Egyptian, and Acorn doing a wonderful job of wrapping his forces all around Greeky's, and Greeky's doing a nice job of microing everything he needs to, sniping villages in the meantime as well. And Acorn, it's been a tough fight for him. He's still got GG. We see GG coming out from Acorn, guys, and wow, it's been a phenomenal game. Unbelievable. Anyway, guys, I'll be one sec. Let's have a look at the quest stats, but I've got to go let my cat out, I think. So Acorn with a bit of a villager lead, pretty much the entirety of the game, but Greeky's pressure, oh boy. Greeky's pressure on Acorn that game was phenomenal. That was a wonderful game to watch and cast. Both players did a great job, I think. Military population, like I said, it was really slanted toward Greeky's favour most of the game, and he was really making use of that most of the game too. That was a great game, guys. Pat yourselves on the back for that one. I'll be one sec.